Artificial intelligence is all the rage and can be a great tool to do many things, like asking it to write a program or script for your computer project, or even giving you a list of items to take on your next vacation so you don't forget anything. AI can do so many valuable things, but how credible and accurate is AI when it comes to financial information and its recommendations related to investments? In this video, we'll walk through the responses we get from AI together as we ask 3 different AI interfaces our questions. We'll be asking for feedback from Google's AI interface Gemini, previously named Bard, from OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Microsoft's AI interface CoPilot. In the first round of questions, we'll just be looking for general information from each AI interface, and then we'll move on to more specific questions and interactions. This should be a lot of fun. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to ask each of the 3 AI interfaces the same question and see what the results are from each interface, and then compare that to the real factual data. Our first question is going to be, what did the stock market do on Monday, July 22nd, 2024? Well, first we'll give this question to Gemini. So this is an interesting response. I'm not sure why it's talking about elections or political figures right now. One thing I have seen with Gemini is if you ask a little further back, it has the information. But if you ask for really current, like same day information, you get some kind of bizarre answer. So let's go see what ChatGPT does with the same question about July 22nd. Okay, so this does break down the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. Once again, no specifics with numbers, but it does tell you a little bit of information, although we'll see if it's right or wrong with what it says for today's market. And then finally, we will ask the same question of Microsoft's CoPilot. What I like about CoPilot is it highlights some of the information that you're probably looking for. So it highlights S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Dow Jones, and we'll have to see if that information is correct. Now, we know that Gemini didn't give us any information and basically said it doesn't handle political questions properly, so we don't need to look at that one. But let's go back and look at ChatGPT. So ChatGPT said the Dow rose modestly. So let's look at the stock market from today. You could say that's right. I mean, it was up 0.32% on Monday, the 22nd. Let's see what it said about the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ saw a minor decrease, and it says S&P 500 experienced a slight decline. So slight decline for the S&P 500 and a minor decrease for the NASDAQ, and that is very wrong. The NASDAQ was up a lot, up over 1.5%. The S&P 500 was up over 1%. That was not accurate whatsoever. So that's our first question out of the way. Let's ask the second question, which is going to be, which stock is up the most in 2024? And we will try Gemini first. Okay, so it's talking about NVIDIA being a standout performer in 2024, and that is accurate. NVIDIA has been phenomenal this year, but it is not the stock that's been up the most in 2024. Once again, very limited information, just kind of a general idea of about one stock that has had a good year. Well, let's see what ChatGPT does with that question. It lists a couple different stocks here. It lists, funny enough, CrowdStrike Holdings, which you have paid any attention to the news over the past few days on the 19th of July and today as well. CrowdStrike is down 25% because of the issues with all the internet outages. And it also mentions Bird Corporation and Robinhood Markets. So we'll look at those. Now, obviously, CrowdStrike won't be on there after the big hit to their stock performance the last couple of days the market was open. And finally, we'll ask that question of CoPilot. Which stock was up the most in 2024? While it looks a lot like Gemini's answer, pretty generic, and it just mentions NVIDIA. Let's go see which stock has been up the most this year. Here is the top returning stock so far in 2024, and it's up over 6,000%, and that is Alt5 Sigma Corporation. When I did some research on this yesterday or a couple of days ago, this Fitel Corporation was the biggest one for the year so far, but I'm guessing that this Alt5 Sigma Corporation, which probably was a couple cents or something and went up a significant amount today with the market going up. None of those got that question right. Let's see if they know which stock is down the most in 2024, and we will go back to Gemini to kick it off. Once again, Gemini is very generic. Walgreens is listed here as the worst performer in the S&P 500, and that may be true, but that's not what we asked of Gemini. We asked, what's been the stock that's down the most in 2024? We'll see if that's right, but I don't think that it is. ChatGPT, see what it says. ChatGPT comes back with Arcadium Lithium, which is down 95.93% according to this. And it also mentions a couple others here in Solar Edge Technologies and Genomics. So we'll look and see if that is correct. And finally, CoPilot. CoPilot comes in with Vulcan Incorporated that says it's down 99.33%. And it also recognizes a couple different stocks in Greenwave Technology and Barnes & Noble. So let's just see which ones were down the most. So as you can see here, Vulcan Incorporated is correct. So CoPilot was the only one that had that one correct. I'm looking for some of the other. Greenwave was mentioned in CoPilot as well. It mentioned Barnes & Noble as well, but I don't think that was on here. I do not see that. But CoPilot was not 100%. It was 100% accurate on the worst stock performance of the year, and had one other one that was in this list that we're looking here that was obviously really bad as well, at 98% down with Greenwave Technology. So far, Gemini's probably been the worst, and ChatGPT's been okay, and CoPilot seems to be the best so far. So let's go on to our next question. We've already seen some mention by some of these about NVIDIA, so let's just ask them about NVIDIA. And the question is, what return does NVIDIA stock have in 2024, and what is the consensus analyst rating? So let's see what Gemini has to say about that. Consensus analyst rating for NVIDIA is strong buy. Doesn't mention anything about the return. So that's interesting, just that it has a strong buy rating and it's driven by the surge in demand for AI chips. So no statistics, no numbers, just the analyst rating of strong buy, which we'll see if that's right or not. ChatGPT, let's see what it says about NVIDIA. So this says NVIDIA has posted a significant return of almost 92% for the year, and it says it has an analyst rating of strong buy. And finally, let's see what CoPilot has. ChatGPT definitely gave us some numbers, which was good. Let's see if CoPilot does the same thing. So CoPilot says that NVIDIA is up almost 145% in 2024, and it also has a strong buy rating. It even mentions details about the analyst breakdown. 48 analysts, 38 give a buy rating, 5 give a hold rating, and 1 give a strong buy rating. But I'm pretty sure if you put those numbers together, that would just be a buy rating, not a strong buy, with 38 of the 44 being a buy. Anyway, it does in bold there say that it is a strong buy. All right, so let's go and look at NVIDIA and see what we have here. So for the year, NVIDIA is up almost 151%. CoPilot had 145. ChatGPT had 92%. And remember, Gemini didn't have any numbers. It just had the strong buy rating. We also look here. If you look at the analyst rating, strong buy is what NVIDIA is. They all got that right. CoPilot was the closest in the amount of return for the year, saying it was up 145% basically, when NVIDIA is up 151%. So that's pretty close. So once again, CoPilot looks to be the best. ChatGPT probably second, and Gemini last of the three. All right, so let's dig into some exchange traded fund information. So let's just ask Gemini, which ETF was up the most in 24 so far? And as we've seen with the theme here with Gemini, it's really hesitant to give you any specific information. It's just high-level information, just some generic type of detail. So not a lot there for that. So let's ask ChatGPT the same thing. So this ChatGPT calls out iShares blockchain and tech ETF being up 77.39%. And we'll see if that's accurate or not. I got a sneaky suspicion it's not. And we'll ask CoPilot the same question. Let's see what CoPilot comes back with. This one comes back with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at 57.9%. So let's see if they had this information right. So here's our list. Obviously, the ones that we saw there were not accurate for ChatGPT or CoPilot. The ones that are listed here, and one of the things I added to this column was this leverage. Just so you know, that these ones that have these incredible returns, the 400% basically for the NVIDIA Daily Target ETF, these are high-risk leveraged ETFs, and for most investors, they're not recommended. But you can see there's a couple on here that have the leverage of long. That's kind of your normal ETFs. One of them is NVDY, which is Yield Max NVDA Option Income Strategy ETF. And then another one is First Trust Skybridge Crypto Industry and Digital Economy ETF with the symbol CRPT. That was a mouthful. And you can see it came in at like 66%. Gemini gave no info. ChatGPT and CoPilot both gave wrong information. Can they get the one that's down the most? One of them did for stocks. Let's see if they can for the worst performing ETF of the year. And as we see again, Gemini, high detail information, no specifics about anything other than it talks about maybe some sectors and some performance there, but no specific ETF information. Let's see what ChatGPT says. So it calls out a couple here. It calls out Bloomberg Natural Gas Subindex Total Return ETN, symbol GAZ, Invest Global Rare Earth Strategic Metals ETF, and Solactive China Biotech ETF. And it gives you some numbers there, 30, 23, 29, 34% down. We'll find out if that's right or not. I've got another sneaky suspicion it's not. All right, so CoPilot, it mentions 3 Granite shares 2 times short NVIDIA daily ETF, down 89%. The AXS 1.25 times NVIDIA bear daily ETF, and ProShares ultra short semiconductor. The only one it mentions a percentage is the Granite shares one, but we'll see if any of these are right. And we've got 12 here already, so let's take a look at that. So the worst performing ETF is NVDQ. Let's see if either of them had that right. No, neither of them had it right. But CoPilot had NVD, which is number 2 on the list. So that's, once again, a little better than the others. It's also got NVDS. Let's see if NVDS is on there. NVDS is the 3rd worst on the list. And also mentions SSG. Let's see where that one is. That's 4th. So CoPilot, pretty darn close, right? It didn't get the top one, but it got 2, 3, and 4. But when we look at ChatGPT, they have GAZ. Let's see if GAZ was on there. GAZ is not on the list. They've got REMX, and REMX is not on the list. So once again, CoPilot is the winner here over both Gemini and ChatGPT. Gemini doesn't really even try. ChatGPT tries some, but when you're just given bad information, maybe you shouldn't try. And CoPilot has been either accurate or pretty close on most of these answers, which is really surprising because the most you hear about is ChatGPT and then Gemini. You don't hear nearly as much about CoPilot. So kudos to Microsoft. And I'm not a big Microsoft fan, but kudos to them for kind of, at least in this arena, being better than the other two so far. So we got 2 more questions for them. This one is pretty simple. We'll go to Gemini first. We're going to ask, what are the top 5 market cap companies in the U.S.? This one should be pretty easy. Let's see what they do. Okay, so Gemini, and it listed Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, aka Alphabet, and Amazon. Let's see what ChatGPT gives us. Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Alphabet, aka Google, and Amazon. Pretty much, I think, the same order. Yes, and ChatGPT also lists the market capitalization that each of them has. What's interesting, these big companies, when NVIDIA was at its high a few weeks ago, I think it was actually number 1 on this list, but it's dropped some. These are the top 5. They have the same between Gemini and ChatGPT and CoPilot. Let's see what CoPilot says. Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, Amazon. So they all have the same. Now, it is interesting that when you look at the numbers, do they match as far as the market size? They're close. They both are in around the same price, although Google is 2.2 trillion on CoPilot and only 1.79 on ChatGPT. The others are pretty close. Amazon, though, is also a little bit different between CoPilot and ChatGPT. And here we go. Here are your top 5. Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Alphabet, aka Google, and Amazon. So guess what? They all were right. Now, as far as the market cap, and if they got that right, I'm not too worried about it because they're all pretty close to, at least ChatGPT and CoPilot, because they gave numbers, at least they're in the ballpark. Gemini didn't give us any numbers, but they all were right. So kudos to them on that one. That's probably one of the easiest questions of the group. And finally, our last one's going to be a little bit more difficult and be very interesting to see what comes back here. I would expect nothing from Gemini. And our question is going to be, give me 5 undervalued stocks that have a buy rating or strong buy rating. So let's see what they do. So Gemini immediately starts out with a disclaimer, which I guess is trying to protect themselves. So I don't have any issue with that. And then they go into 5 potential stocks as being undervalued with buy and strong buy ratings. Devon Energy is one. Wells Fargo is another. IBM, Procter & Gamble, and Caterpillar. So interesting. And they give some important considerations on why they came up with these 5 or how they possibly came up with these 5. I will tell you, I did a recent video about 5 undervalued stocks that were ready to shoot up. And boy, have they done that in the past month and a half since I did that video. The 5 stocks in that video were Johnson & Johnson, CVS, Comcast, Prologis, and Global Payments. And I'll have a link at some point in this video giving you that, but it'll probably be right up here in the corner. So click on that if you want to see that information. Still a good time to get in on those 5 stocks. Most of them are still undervalued, even though they've all shot up a good bit. Okay, so we got our 5 from Gemini. Let's see what 5 ChatGPT gives us. Okay, interesting. 5 different companies. And they came back with Schlumberger, General Motors, United Airlines, Noah Holding Limited, Cogent Communication Holdings Incorporated. They do give some detail here. These stocks are identified based on their current market valuations and analyst ratings, suggesting they may offer good value for investors looking for potential growth opportunities. Okay, let's see what CoPilot gives us. Would be funny if we got 15 different stocks, 5 different from each AI interface. And I think we did. So CoPilot gives us Albemarle Corporation, Crown Castle Incorporated, the Kraft Heinz Company, PayPal Holdings, Exxon Mobil Corporation. And they give same thing. They're talking about intrinsic values here and positive ratings from analysts. 15 different stocks given to us. I think it will be interesting to see if we'll just spend a few more minutes going through and seeing, at a minimum, did they get these right? Were they at least buy or strong buy rating stocks? So let's do that real quick here. Let's go to ALB, Albemarle Corporation. It is a buy, so they got that right. Crown Castle, CCI. Do that real quick. CCI is a buy. KHC, Kraft, and that's a buy. So far, so good for CoPilot. PayPal, PYPL. There's so far no strong buys, just buy. There's another buy. And finally, the one from CoPilot, Exxon Mobil, which is XOM. And that is also a buy. Now, if we look at ChatGPT, they gave us Schlumberger, which is SLB. SLB is a strong buy. Okay, that's our first strong buy on the list. Good old General Motors, ticker GM. That's also a buy. We've got United Airlines. Been a rough couple of days for the airline companies with all the internet outages and flights being canceled. United is a strong buy. So ChatGPT, so far, 2 of the 3 have been strong buys. Noah Holding, that's a buy. And their last one on ChatGPT is CCOI, Cogent Communication Holdings, and that's a hold. So ChatGPT got the last one wrong, being that it's got a analyst rating of hold, and we specifically asked it for buy or strong buy stocks that were undervalued. So this would be incorrect. And there's more details. You can go into undervalued stocks, and that video that I mentioned earlier goes into those type of metrics. But for this video, I just want to have some just generic high-level reasons why you would pick that. Let's see what Gemini did here. So it gave us Devon Energy, DVN. DVN is a buy. It gave us Wells Fargo, WFC. That's also a buy. Gave us IBM. IBM is a hold. So Gemini is in the realm with ChatGPT, getting what we asked as a requirement wrong by giving us a stock with a hold rating. Procter & Gamble, I would guess that's at least a buy, and it is. And finally, Caterpillar, and that's a buy. So in this last question, we asked them specifically 5 undervalued stocks that have a buy rating or strong buy rating. You can debate what makes a stock undervalued, but an analyst consensus is pretty straightforward. That Gemini and ChatGPT each gave us one of the 5 incorrectly. That's a little disappointing. CoPilot gave us 5 stocks that they considered undervalued. We don't know the metrics behind it, but they all were either a buy rating or strong buy. In general, as a whole, to me, it was clear that CoPilot gives you better information from an investment perspective. ChatGPT is okay, and Gemini, for the most part, just doesn't even try. None of them were 100% accurate, right? Do your research. Don't depend on AI for this yet. Now, maybe in the future, AI will get to a point where ask it these type of questions, it will give you spot-on answers 100% correct every time. It's definitely not there right now, but it can give you some helpful information, especially if you're looking for just generalized information. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and hanging around till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you know when I put out new content focused on your money and how to handle it best, with just a little bit of comedy thrown in for good measure. See you next time.